All right, boys and girls, we are going to be learning how to watercolor paint. Your supply list is a watercolor set, a brush, a container of water, a crayon, a wash rag, or paper towel. Okay, let's learn together. Here we go. We are going to be watercolor painting today, so you will need a watercolor set. I have an old dish rag, or maybe a napkin you could use, paper towel, a container of water, a crayon, and a brush. This brush is a little tiny. This one's a little larger. Let's see what you've got. All right, to start this assignment out today, we are going to start with writing our name in the corner. Miss Kroll. Now, today's lesson is going to focus on a portrait of ourselves in winter. So, winter has some very interesting characteristics. So we'll have to add those to our drawing / painting. It's a little bit of both. So what I'd like you to start with is a drawing of yourself. So you'll need your head and your eyes, a nose, and a mouth. There we go. Try to add little eyebrows. Now, I'm not drawing this too large because I'd like to add trees and pine trees to show the weather outside in winter. In the cold weather, maybe a little snow. Now in winter, I'm going to put myself in a heavy coat. So maybe you can make yourself a little coat so you won't be cold outside. And I think on the front of my coat, I'm going to draw little dots to show buttons, maybe a little scarf around my neck. I have all these lines, so I'm going to add more lines in my scarf. Maybe a little piece of my scarf is flying off the edge in the wind on a windy winter day. All right. Now, I'd like to give myself a hat. I could have a big pointy hat or a low squashed hat that looks like an oval. I think I'm going to do a bit of a pointier hat. And I'm going to put a puff on the top. You can decide the shape of your hat, obviously, and your coat. Here's a little bit of my hair. I just want to show a little bit of my hair. Now I've forgotten my ears. And I have a little more hair that comes down. All right, a very simple drawing. Now in the winter, I might have mittens on instead of my hands being in the cold. Here's my little mittens. Now it's awfully cold and I need to have pants on, I think. So I'm going to draw a line down on this side and a line down on that side and a line over and a line over. Just trying to draw maybe some snow pants or just regular pants. You decide. And big boots for snow. And there we go, portrait of ourselves. Now we need to add our winter. Maybe I could have a little snowy hill. Maybe you'll have a hill or two of snow. Wouldn't it be fun to get so much snow? And I think back here I might add the sun. The sun's out in the winter too. Maybe a few clouds. Maybe you'd like to add, how about a tree? going to have a little triangular shape here for a pine tree. Maybe I'll add another one here. Triangle. And 2 lines down, that's the trunk. Maybe I'll make a couple little lines in that trunk. I think I'm almost ready to paint. I think right here I might make bigger piles of snow, like I'm walking through the snow. Maybe some little dots for snowflakes or rain or hail. And I think I'm ready to paint. Whoops. Boys and girls, maybe you have a tree or two, some snow, the sun. You could have the moon. Maybe you're out walking with your family. And I'd like to start painting now. Now remember, when you watercolor paint, you have to get your brush wet. You get your brush wet, and then you drip on the colors that you want. And I think I'm going to start with yellow. I always like to start with my lightest color first, and I drip, and maybe I'll drip a little water into my orange. So I think what I like to paint yellow, I'm going to tickle the paint softly with my brush, pick it up, and I think I'm going to add some yellow to my sun. Now, the brush needs to be taken care of. The tip, all these little hairs are called bristles, and they have to be treated very gently or they break. So when I move my brush back and forth, I'm very careful. I don't mash it down and crush it. Boys and girls, you can definitely add different types of trees without leaves, maybe tiny little bushes or rocks and stones on the ground. You know, you can add all sorts of details that you want to include in your winter picture. Now, boys and girls, I'm washing my brush before I go into a new color. I used yellow and I washed my brush, and now I'm going to go into orange. And I think I'm going to make my mittens orange. And maybe my pom-pom. I'm washing my brush between colors, and now I'm going to choose a new color. I'm going to wet this violet and paint the coat. Back and forth, nice and easy. Wash my brush. I'm going to pick a new color. I'm going to dip into this blue, and I think I'll give myself some blue boots. And maybe a blue scarf. Wash my brush, wipe it off or touch the paper towel. But I'd like to add a new color, so I'm going to add a little bit of water in my green. And I also am going to put a little water in here, and I'm going to add green to my pine trees. And I'm always careful. Wash my brush. And I think I'd like to put a little brown on these tree trunks. All right. And you can work on finishing up some of your detailing. I'm going to add a little facial tone here. Make sure you're washing your brush. Always being careful. Go nice and slow. Nice and easy. Wash my brush. Wipe it out. And I think I'd like to put some fun colors in these clouds. Ooh, a beautiful afternoon or evening sky. All right, well, you can see I've sped up the film here, so it's a little fast. And I'm doing a process called wet on wet painting. Basically, you add a little water on the surface, and then you add the color right into the water, and it moves around in a different way. I think it's kind of nice. Try not to over soak your paper, it will rip. But once the paper is wet, the paint moves around really nicely. All right, I'm going to do this half. I'm wetting the paper. Now I'm adding a little color into it. Be careful not to rub too hard with your brush. It will rip a hole in your paper. And that's kind of a nice way to watercolor paint. Wet paint on wet paper. It has a different look than wet paint on dry paper. And it looks like I'm nearly finished. I might add a little slushy water color to the front of this picture, maybe right by my name. And I feel like this looks complete. Enjoy yourselves, boys and girls. Remember, always wash your brush between colors. Thank you.